He is a two-time Oscar-winning actor who has also been embroiled in controversy due to his misconduct. On the big screen, he portrays the charming, charismatic prince. Yet, in real life, his circumstances were quite tragic. In this video, I want to talk about Marlon Brando. Born in 1924 in the United States, his childhood was far from happy. His mother struggled with alcoholism, and his father was often abusive. This difficult upbringing likely had a profound impact on Brando's character. As a young man, he was expelled from military school for his rebellious behavior, and later, he turned to acting. In 1950, Brando starred in his first film, The Men, portraying a disabled war veteran. His unique charisma and mannerisms showcased his unruly nature. In 1951, he starred alongside Vivien Leigh in A Streetcar Named Desire, playing Stanley, a crude, alcoholic, and gambling character, seemingly a role tailor-made for Brando. Typically, Vivien Leigh's roles are fragile, sensitive, and vain. The two had no chemistry at first, but Brando believed her presence would disrupt his life. At this point, Brando decided to give in to his desires. He began to search through things, determined to expose the lies of the woman and reveal the truth, just to drive this uninvited guest away. The woman had feelings for Mitch, but Brando ruthlessly sabotaged them. Leigh's character represents a longing for luxury and a better life, while Brando's performance is so natural that he seems like an ordinary worker, truly capturing the plight of society's lower class at the time. With this film, Brando received his first Oscar nomination for Best Actor, just 2 years after his film debut. He was a truly gifted actor, one who didn't need formal acting training or a deep understanding of the world. His raw, authentic presence alone was enough to create powerful characters. In 1953, Brando earned another Oscar nomination for his performance in Julius Caesar. He won the audience over with his determined image and a stirring speech. That same year, Brando's standout performance in The Wild One caught the attention of many young people, even starting a fashion trend of leather jackets and jeans. However, Brando's most famous film in the early years was On the Waterfront 1954, in which he played a dock worker suffering under the control of the mob. Brando's friend Joey tries to expose their crimes, but is silenced by Brando's brother, and Brando becomes an eyewitness and accomplice. Interestingly, Brando's character falls in love with Joey's sister, Eddie. The storyline of On the Waterfront is relatively simple, with not many standout moments. In fact, Brando's exceptional acting carries the entire film. One of the most iconic scenes occurs when Eddie's glove accidentally falls during their first meeting. Interestingly, this was not in the script. The director could have called a stop, but chose to continue filming to observe Brando's reaction. For Brando, the simple thing to do would be to return the glove, but instead, he picks it up and starts to play with it. Eddie reaches out her hand, but then hesitates and pulls it back. It's said that people tend to imitate the actions of someone they like, and Brando's act of putting on the glove symbolized the growing feelings between the two characters. Later, Eddie attempts to retrieve the glove, only to find it already on his hand. Brando skillfully shifts his gaze, and they walk a bit before Eddie reluctantly takes the glove back. In this moment, Brando's love for the woman is both simple and complex. The most shocking part of On the Waterfront is the improvised scene at the end of the movie. Brando was passionate about adding his improvisation to his performances, and this often led to great results, though occasionally it could backfire, which we'll discuss later. In the final part of On the Waterfront, when Brando's brother is also killed, the woman abandons her desire for revenge and only wants to escape with Brando. Yet, the man's expression becomes firm. As the saying goes, when others suffer injustice and one does nothing, when misfortune strikes them, everything is already in the past. Brando steps forward and fights fiercely with the Union allies. His face shows both determination and the responsibility of being a man. Brando's performance was so fluid and natural that his acting was almost invisible despite his handsome appearance. This film earned him his first Academy Award for Best Actor. However, Brando's career was not always smooth sailing. Over the next decade, he appeared in films like The Men and The Fugitive Kind, but the varying quality of the scripts meant that these works didn't shine as brightly. diminishing his box office appeal. After On the Waterfront, Brando faced his darkest 20 years. In 1960, Brando directed and starred in One-Eye Jacks. It's said that he hadn't originally intended to direct, but was forced to take over when the director unexpectedly left. He believed that as an actor, he already had full control of the set, so directing was unnecessary. As a result, One-Eye Jacks has some rough moments, such as the unrealistic desert dialogue scenes. Brando's directed gunfight scenes also felt unnatural, with hesitant movements that lacked the flair of Western gunfighters. If only a few films had poor box office results, it wouldn't have been so bad. But Brando's rebellious nature also got him into trouble, earning him a notorious reputation in the film industry. For instance, he was known for being difficult to work with, often walking off set and disappearing during filming, and preferring improvisation over sticking to scripts, which disrupted the director's plans. In 1971, when Francis Ford Coppola was preparing to film The Godfather, he was convinced that Marlon Brando was the only choice for the lead role. Paramount Pictures, however, was not so sure, and their concerns were not about Brando's acting, but his reputation. With Coppola's insistence, Brando eventually got the part, but Paramount laid down 3 conditions. First, Brando's salary demands were too high. Second, he had to sign a contract ensuring that filming wouldn't be delayed. And third, despite being an Oscar winner, Brando had to audition. Brando's performance was undeniable, and he won the role. Once filming began, Brando displayed his usual spontaneous nature. It's said that one day, a cat wandered onto set, and instead of shooing it away, Brando picked it up and began petting it. He simply looked at the teleprompter while caressing the cat, creating a legendary scene. In The Godfather, Brando's portrayal of the Godfather is mysterious. The audience doesn't get to know much about his character, except when a man comes to him with his daughter's tragic story. The Godfather simply shrugs. When asked how much money is required, but not mentioning favors, Brando expresses his anger. He uses a slow, deliberate voice and precise gestures to craft the mysterious character of the Godfather. Brando places the cat on the table, stands up, and prepares to leave. The audience is curious as to how the Godfather will handle the situation. Will he choose to shoot and kill the man? With his powerful presence, Brando not only intimidates the other character, but also wins over the audience's heart. Later, when his eldest son is assassinated, Brando, knowing the truth, shows a moment of sadness in his eyes. His wife is already in tears. He notices that the strategist needs a drink before revealing the events, and Brando, with a glance and a small gesture, shows the Godfather's careful thought process. At the morgue, the Godfather sees his son's battered body. Instead of crying or shouting, he simply frowns. Later, in a meeting with the mob bosses, he focuses on the bigger picture and says little about his son's death. In the end, Brando's Godfather lives to an old age and dies quietly while playing with his grandchildren, marking the end of a glorious life. In the Godfather trilogy, both Al Pacino and Brando's performances are unforgettable. When talking about The Godfather, viewers often remember Brando's iconic role. Pacino's Godfather is bold and ruthless, while Brando shows a more thoughtful side. Perhaps only in his later years did people truly understand the value of family. To secure a better future for his family, Brando's character puts aside old grudges. His performance earned him his second Oscar for Best Actor, and The Godfather helped Brando dispel many doubts about him. However, his good fortune didn't last long. In 1972, the controversial film Last Tango in Paris was released, filled with explicit dialogue and sex scenes, using warm tones to emphasize the theme of ambiguity. In reality, street filming didn't tarnish Brando's image. What truly damaged his reputation was his collaboration with the director to turn the film's butter rape scene into a real event without informing the female lead beforehand. Mary Schneider later felt humiliated, and Brando never apologized. He and the director believed that only the genuine reaction of the actress, not her performance, would create the most authentic scene. However, Schneider's sacrifice was too great, and she later said she could never forgive Brando. Afterward, she even avoided using butter when cooking. Brando's actions and comments stirred up a storm in America. However, for someone as defiant and unconcerned with others' opinions as Brando, these controversies were insignificant. In the film's conclusion, Brando's character faces consequences for his misdeeds and mistreatment of women. He calmly walks to the balcony, sticks his gum on the railing, and quietly passes away. Last Tango in Paris is not only one of the most controversial films in cinema history, but also a pivotal moment in Brando's career. For this role, he was again nominated for Best Actor. In 1979, Brando reunited with Coppola for Apocalypse Now. It's said that Brando shaved his head without informing anyone, which displeased Coppola. After some persuasion, the director agreed to the new look. Frankly, Brando's appearance didn't align well with his role in the film, but perhaps that's art. An idea or an impulse can lead one to make surprising decisions. Although the bald look didn't suit Brando, at least he tried, right? Brando's final appearance on screen came in 2011 when he made a cameo in the score. Looking back on Brando's career, it's clear that he could tackle a wide range of roles. From dock workers to rebels, from the Godfather to a tenant, every role Brando played had its own charm. Some characters seemed destined for greatness, while others were brought to life solely through Brando's extraordinary performance. His achievements in the film industry were so monumental that the American Film Institute even divided his career into before Marlon Brando and after Marlon Brando. Yet, despite his radiant on-screen presence, Brando's real life was quite tragic. He had relationships with over 20 lovers and fathered numerous illegitimate children. Growing up in an unhappy childhood, he wanted to be a good father, but one of his sons became a murderer, and his daughter chose to commit suicide. In The Godfather, he was surrounded by love and family in his later years, but in reality, Brando lived out his life in loneliness. In 2004, after living 80 years, this wandering soul finally found rest. I don't intend to judge the moral character of any actor. To objectively view someone, we should focus on their career. There's no denying that Brando is one of Hollywood's greatest actors, and he never cared about others' opinions of him. His acting speaks for itself. To understand more about this captivating man, you might want to revisit his films on a leisurely afternoon. If you enjoyed my video, please don't hesitate to like and subscribe. See you in the next video.